Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Uncommon Sense with Jose Negron. Now, for the benefit of those of you who are not familiar with the channel or are watching this channel for the first time, the reason why it is called Uncommon Sense because here on this platform, we discuss everyday issues and we try to seek logical solutions, but not everyone uses logic. So for that reason, it is called uncommon sense. And I see where we got some activity in the chat. Good evening, Donna Mondo. Thank you very much for stopping by. And we also have Keisha on the chat. Thank you very much for stopping by. Um, I want to let everybody know that I'm currently live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. Also, want to let everybody know that the subscriber mode has been enabled. What does that mean? That means that if you're not a subscriber and if you wish to enter a comment in the chat, you need to subscribe. As always, I want to start by giving a huge shout out to all those who have already subscribed to the channel, whether you've been with me since day one or recently. I really appreciate all the love and support all of you have given me. I also want to give a huge shout out to all those who follow me on social media, whether it be Facebook, whether it be Twitter, whether it be TikTok, whether it be Instagram, or what have you. I really appreciate your support. And I also want to give a huge shout out to those of you who allow me to enter into your devices. So, what I'm going to ask you to do is the following. If you have not done so, I'm going to ask you to please subscribe, like, and hit the bell notification to all. So, therefore, whenever I do produce content, you will have the opportunity to catch it live or catch it on the playback. So before we get into tonight's topic, which is moving forward, we're going to move forward and we're going to have another session of In My Words. Okay. Of course, everybody has heard of the latest situation regarding the former president of the United States being indicted again. This has to do with actions relating to the insurrection that was held January the 6th, 2021, when it was alleged that Donald Trump was trying to overthrow the results of the election and continue to stay in power when he was not entitled to do so, and his allegations that the election was stolen from him. Despite the fact that numerous courts have stated the opposite, and the fact of the matter was that Joe Biden did receive not just a high number as far as the popular vote, but also the electoral college. So there will be a hearing, I believe, August the 28th, which will be near the time of the first Republican debate regarding who will be the Republican candidate. Now, I have said this before, and I'm going to say it again. Everyone, and I repeat, everyone is innocent until proven guilty. But in all fairness, it does not look too well for Donald Trump. Now, what I'm going to do is unfortunately, I cannot share because I'm using my cell phone, but I'm going to play an audio. I mean, it's not meant to be, anything but humorous. So let me just play the audio.
First there was a box, labeled classified. Kept thinking I could show it off, and they just then snide. But then some jerk up in DC realized that they were gone. I said, you're wrong. Cause they've been mine all along, but now there's Jack. Back from the Hague. He's as relentless as a bloodhound and as deadly as a fake. I should have changed those things and caused a fire of blood. Now the feds have figured that is me. Them suspended in blood by lawyers' quits. Walked out the door. Please turn around now. Cause I won't pay for anymore. Thank God the GOP is rushing to my side. There's a few though who hope I lay down and die as classified. I won't survive. They got evidence. They won't believe my lies. Yeah, the feds are on my ass, and my friends are fast. It's classified. I won't survive. Hey, hey.
Now, another thing that I have recently learned today, there was a poll among Republicans, of which 69% of the Republicans that were polled honestly believe that Donald Trump won the election and that it was stolen from him. Now, again, let me make this perfectly clear. Joe Biden won both on the Electoral College and the popular vote. But more importantly, the Electoral College, because that's the criteria as far as who is going to be president. And I chose to discuss, this little tidbit, just to illustrate the message for tonight. So, because unfortunately, there are people who cannot get past what happened in the past. So, with that being said, we're going to get into the main topic. Okay. Now, as you can see by the thumbnail, the topic for tonight is moving forward. Now, some of you might be asking, why did I pick this topic? I picked this topic for the following reasons. First of all, in our lives, we come across difficult moments, sometimes painful moments, whether it be the ending of a relationship, or whether it be something that someone did to us that was wrong, that we consider wrong, or if there was a wrong that was committed against us, and then we allow it to fester and occupy our thoughts and our words. And there's individual that still has not fully recovered from past hurts. I have not been able to let go of the past. Okay. In all fairness, I have been just as guilty, just like everybody else. There have been times when people hurt me. There have been times when people disappointed me. And I have had difficulty trying to get past it. Okay. But part of the healing process is when you acknowledge that there is something that was done, and you're able to get past it. It's not like you're going to forget it. It's just that what it is that you're remembering what happened. It's not going to bring back painful memories and open all scars. And that's something many of us has been guilty of. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, let me just make it, before I continue, I want to let everybody know that the link to join the panel has been pinned. So if anyone wishes to join the panel, they can do so. I'm going to share some information, okay? Hopefully, someone will accompany me, or else I'll just do this, solo, okay? Now, the first source I got to talk about comes from a website called Healthline. And the name of the article is Tips for Letting Go. Okay. And the keep it 100. We see it not just here in these YouTube streets, but in our personal lives as well. But we deal with people that for whatever reason are not able to let go of past hurts because they have not gotten to the point when they can um, deal with it. And some people choose to ignore it. Some people choose to run from it. Okay. That you're not doing yourself any favors by running from those past hurts or ignoring them. The mature thing to do is to acknowledge that they're there and you take action needed in order to address those disappointments, those betrayals, and what have you, so you can move forward. And it could be a learning lesson if you have the maturity and the intestinal fortitude to accept it as such. So let me just read you what's been said. One thing that connects us as human beings is our ability to feel pain, whether that pain is physical or emotional. We all have experiences of being hurt. What separates us, though, is how we deal from that pain. One of the best ways to heal from hurts is to learn lessons from the situation and use those to focus on growth and forward momentum. If we get stuck in thinking about what should have been, we can become immobilized in painful feelings and memories. That's something that's happening with quite a few people. And I'm not going to mention any names, but I already know at least one YouTube creator that is still harping on hurts or alleged hurts that were done by others and not have been able to move forward. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share some certain points to help us to deal with this dilemma. Number one, create a positive mantra to counter the painful thoughts. How do you talk to yourself can either move you forward or keep you stuck. Often having a mantra that you tell yourself in times of emotional pain can help you reframe your thoughts. For example, says clinical psychologist Carla Manley, PhD, instead of getting stuck in, I can't believe this happened to me, try a positive mantra such as, I am fortunate to be able to find a new path in life. Say that you should distance yourself from the person or situation that's causing you to be upset. According to clinical psychologist Ramani, I'm probably going to butcher this name, the Vasula, that's not just such a bad thing. Creating physical or psychological distance between ourselves and the person or situation can help with letting go for the simple reason that we're not having to think about it, process it, or being reminded as much, she explains. Okay. So, number three, do your own work. Focusing on yourself is important. You have to make the choice to address the hurt that you have experienced. When you think about the person who caused you pain, bring yourself back to the present. Then focus on something you are grateful for. Okay. I'm just going to give you a case in point. Some of you know that I've been divorced from my ex-wife. It was a difficult marriage for 2 years. Unfortunately, we were not able to resolve those differences that existed. And again, I make it perfectly clear, both of us are just as guilty. However, I'm at the stage now when I can learn from what tragedy, what mistakes that were made, to make sure I do not repeat them. Okay. Now, the next thing is to practice mindfulness. The more we can bring our focus to the present, says Lisa Oliveira, a licensed marriage and family therapist, the less impact our past or future has on us. When we start practicing being present, our hearts have less control over us, and we have more freedom to choose how we want to respond in our lives, she adds. Okay, now this is an interesting point because the key is to be focusing on the present. Okay, what happened in the past is the past, but we should try to live in the present and not be so much of a slave to the past. What we can do is learn from the mistakes from the past and apply it as a learning experience. Okay, so just give me a moment. Number 5, be gentle with yourself. If your first response is not being able to let go of a painful situation, is to criticize yourself, it's time to show some kindness and compassion. Olivia says, this looks at treating ourselves like we would treat a friend. Offer ourselves self-compassion and avoiding comparisons between our journey and those of others. Now, this is an important key, okay? Because everyone has a different journey. Everyone has different paths that they can take. So we cannot be concerned that if our paths are not identical with the paths of others, because we have different experiences, okay? And that's something that we all need to bear in mind. Number 6, allow the negative emotions to flow. If you are feeling negative emotion is causing you to avoid them, don't worry, you're not alone. In fact, the Rasulullah says that many times people are afraid of feelings such as grief, anger, disappointment, or sadness. Rather than feeling them, people just shut them out, which can disrupt the process of letting go. These negative emotions are like riptides, explained the Rasulullah. Let them flow out of you. It may require mental health intervention, but fighting them can leave you stuck, she adds. Okay. The fact of the matter is, we have emotions. There are certain things that we're going to experience. Okay. Especially when it comes to like the grief regarding the death of a loved one. One thing we have to bear in mind that there is no right or wrong way how to deal with that grief. Everyone deals with grief differently. Everyone deals with loss differently. Okay. You can get 20 people together. You're going to get 20 people that's going to respond to grief and loss in 20 different ways. And that's perfectly okay. Okay. Number 7, accept that the other person may not apologize. Waiting for an apology from the person who hurt you will slow down the process of letting go. If you're experiencing hurt and pain, it's important you take care of your own healing, which may accept that the person who hurt you isn't going to apologize. There are people who are not in that position to take accountability for their actions. And sometimes we can get stuck waiting for people to take accountability and waiting for people to apologize, when we have to accept the fact that most likely that's not going to happen. So if the person who has hurt you, or the person that has disappointed you or betrayed you or what have you, does not apologize, so simply accept it and just, accept the fact that that individual or people, whomever, is not at the stage to take accountability for their individual actions. Okay? And again, just to remind everybody, the topic for tonight is moving forward. Number 8, engage in self-care. When we are hurting, it feels like nothing but hurt. Olivia says practicing self-care can look like setting boundaries, saying no, or doing things that will bring us joy and comfort, and listen to our own needs first. The more we can implement self-care in our daily lives, the more empowerment we are. From that space, our hurts don't feel overwhelmed, she says. Now, this is an important point. Self-care. In other words, you have to think of your own well-being, mental well-being, emotional well-being, physical well-being, spiritual well-being. Okay? Because when we are focusing on the hurt, when we're focusing on the betrayal, when we're focusing on the disappointment, we're not focusing on the fact that we need healing, that we need self-care. So this point is very important. Now, what's also important is the next thing. Surround yourself with people who fill you up. This simple yet powerful tip can help carry you through a lot of hurt. We can't do life alone, and we can't expect ourselves to get through our hurts alone either, explained Manny. Allowing ourselves to lean on loved ones and their support is such a wonderful way of not only limiting isolation, but reminding us of the good that is in our lives. Now, one thing that we can fall into habit is to isolate ourselves or separate ourselves from people who wish to provide love and support and not being judgmental. Okay. To be perfectly honest, I mean, it could be very tempting to withdraw into your little cocoon, into your little protective shell. But there's nothing wrong to reaching out to people who care, people who love you, and let them help you in your healing process. As long as they're there to provide support and not judgment, allow yourself to be surrounded by those people. Okay. When they start to give judgments and making undue criticism, that's another thing altogether. The next thing to consider, give yourself permission to talk about it. When you're dealing with painful feelings or a situation that hurts you, it's important to give yourself permission to talk about it. Now, if I mispronounce his name, please forgive me. Durvasula says sometimes people can't let go because they feel they aren't allowed to talk about it. This may be because people around them are no longer want to hear about it, or the person is embarrassed or ashamed to keep talking about it, she explains. But talking it out is important. That is why Durvasula recommends finding a friend or a therapist who is patient and accepting as well as willing to be your sounding board. Okay. There may be times where we might need a therapist to help us to deal with the emotional hurts that we experience. We should not be afraid to seek professional help. Okay. It's like going to a doctor when you have an illness. Okay. You're going to share with the doctor what are the symptoms, and based on that information, the doctor is going to prescribe to you either medication or change of diet or certain practices to help deal with your physical illness. It is the same thing. When you go speak to a therapist or a social worker, you should be honest regarding what is troubling you, what is ailing you, so the therapist can prescribe to you a different way to deal with it and a different way to treat it. Okay. Now, the next thing is extremely important, particularly those if for some reason you did something to hurt others or you've been hurt, give yourself permission to forgive. Since waiting for the other person to apologize can stall the process of letting go, you may have to work on your own forgiveness. Forgiveness is vital to the healing process because it allows you to let go of anger, guilt, shame, sadness, or any other feelings that you may experience and move on. Now, this is very important. Okay. Sometimes we struggle with the ability to forgive ourselves. This is particularly in the light when you're the one that caused the hurt. Okay. Even though you have acknowledged your actions, even though you have taken accountability for your actions, and you actually receive forgiveness from the person that you offended, and then you're still struggling with that spirit of unforgiveness. So it's very important that you forgive yourself if you want to be healed and move forward. And the last thing, which I always advocate, seek professional help. If you're struggling to let go of a painful experience, you may benefit by talking to a professional. Sometimes it's difficult to implement these tips on your own, and you need experienced professional to help guide you with the process. Okay. One of the things, and I share with the audience that I have undergone therapy regarding the emotional scars that I have dealt with, and things of that nature. Um, Sometimes it could be you can struggle to move past hurts. So if you find yourself in that situation and you're struggling, the best thing for you to do is to seek professional help. Okay. And I understand that sometimes in our societies, um, for a person to acknowledge that they need therapy, that's a taboo, particularly when you're dealing with people in my generation. Okay. Well, I have learned that when you're at that stage, when you are able to acknowledge that you need professional help, when you're at that stage, you need therapy, okay, it's going to make it easy for you to recover from past hurts, from past disappointments or betrayals. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share another source called Sitecom. Okay. And the name of the article is Forgiveness, How You Can Let Go of Hurt So You Can Feel Better in 11 Steps. So a good part of moving forward is the ability of you forgiving yourself. Okay. And that is an important key because if you're not able to forgive yourself, you cannot move forward because you're going to continue to be a prisoner to your past. So let me just share with you, read from you, because what the article says. Holding on to anger and resentment isn't good for mental health. Forgiveness can help you let go of emotional pain and jumpstart healing is what you need to know to move forward. Okay. There is a very good reason to learn how to forgive anyone who has hurt you and left you with a deep emotional wound. In fact, forgiveness is essential to wellness. So many mental health problems, but especially depression, anxiety, and addiction, are rooted in unresolved feelings of pain and hurt that we have the power to resolve through the practice of forgiving. In the process of forgiving, you free yourself from the victim hurt and start to move forward instead of spending your time hating, resenting, ruminating, and asking, why did this happen to me? You will need, you will be released from the pain of those emotional wounds and be able to look clearly ahead to begin your life anew. No, you will instead be able to ask, what's next? So now I'm going to be talking about forgiving love wounds. To some degree, all of us have suffered what I call a love wound. The only difference among any of us are the specifics and the degree of the individual trauma. Love wounds affect our sense of goodness, our interconnectedness to others, and our sense of living in a safe and loving universe. It also a wounding of our capacity to love ourselves and others. This love wound is the source of tremendous distress and suffering among depressive thinking, anxiety, loneliness, shame, anger, and addictive behaviors. Only through healing these wounds can we ease our emotional pain and treat the resulting mental health issues that has led us to deep feelings of loneliness, anger, depression, anxiety, and a sense of emptiness. Until we forgive, we continue to medicate and cover up those feelings with excessive alcohol, recreational drugs, or behavior like gambling, alcohol shopping, unhealthy eating, or sexual pursuits that go beyond the pale. Okay. Good evening, Irby. Thank you very much for stopping by. Irby, the topic for tonight is moving forward, and we're dealing with people who have a problem with, getting past, excuse me, those hurt feelings, those moments of betrayal, those moments where they were disappointed. And we have seen it here, not just in these YouTube streets, but also in our individual lives. So let me just continue. Like most of us, I was wounded growing up and had also wounded others. As an adult, I suffered through a traumatic divorce, which made even more traumatic by my estrangement from my own two sons. In my work as a psychiatrist and healer, I concentrate on easing the pain in others, but I also tend to have my own pain and heartbreak. Okay. So now the next thing they consider feel it to heal it. Pain is universal, unavoidable, and I will discuss often even necessary and good. Think about it. The experience of joy wouldn't be possible if we weren't balanced by pain. In the universe play of opposites, joy and pain will be with us as long as we exist. You cannot resolve your pain if you don't actually feel your pain. You must feel it if you want to heal it. There are ways that you open your pain gradually without getting overwhelmed. Willingness to is key. Easing your pain will require some effort, but it's well worth the effort. Don't give up. It can take time to reverse the trauma and damage in our lives. Anger is a kind of painful resentment that we feel towards others or ourselves. We're liberated from those poisonous feelings when we can grace ourselves with forgiving of self and others. So now we're going to be talking about how to process the anger and resentment. And just as a reminder, the topic for tonight is moving forward. Forgiveness isn't something you can simply decide to do. True forgiveness comes from cultivating the conditions necessary for it to take hold. How do you cultivate forgiveness? First, you realize that we are all wounded and we have wounded others. We wound others and ourselves out of narrow self-control, concern, or out of ignorance, and everyone struggles with this human condition. Okay, and I see here's an interesting point. So moving forward is the best method of being stick on things that already happened. It's not helping. Yeah, I agree. That's why we're having this discussion. because there are those individuals that have a hard time moving forward. Stop and consider the cost of resentment. How do they affect your mood and outlook? Look at the consequences of the urge to self-righteously nurse grudges and notice how hate and anger snuff out your joy. Seeing this will help those resentment loosen their grip on you. Seek to understand understand the causes and conditions that drove you or your offender to harm. Your understanding will promote compassion and forgiveness for all suffering and ignorance. Picture the person who wounded you as a small child. See that we were all once innocent and none of us chose our genes, parents, or the circumstances we are growing up. Recognize these conditions drive us and others to act as we do. At first, it may be easier to forgive that child than to forgive the adult. Since awareness grows with experience and inquiry, recognize that we can forgive others and others our lack of awareness of in the past. Resentment as a result, unrealistic expectations. We feel resentment when we expect reality to be better than what it is. In order to let go of resentment, we must let go of the need to be perfect and for life to go exactly our way. Okay. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to be discussing steps for forgiveness. Okay. And again, forgiveness is a key role in order to move forward. Okay. Whether it be yourself, whether it be others. Okay. Forgiveness can be thought as a practice of moving in another steps. Some you can move through quickly, others will take longer. It is a very individual process. If you're reading this and you find yourself, you already worked through some of these steps, there's no need to repeat and just move on to the next. If necessary, revisit previous steps. Okay. Number 1, grieve. The path to forgiveness is through our pain. You must go through the process of grieving your losses, disappointments, and traumas. To arrive at forgiveness, first you need to acknowledge the harm that was done to you. This includes hurt, betrayal, rage, vengeance, guilt, shame, and fear. Fully recognize and honor your pain. Then you must process your pain and put it into perspective. A key step to recovery is to share the harm done with you with a small group of people you trust so that you don't suffer alone. Excuse me. Ask for help when you need it. And I see here we have the 18th Lover. Good evening, Rocky. Thank you very much for stopping by. And just as a reminder, the topic for tonight is moving forward. Okay. Okay. As part of the process of recovery, you eventually let go of anger, shame, guilt, or responsibility for the offender's actions. As you grieve, your pain will naturally ease. Bear in mind, however, that you may need a therapist to help you through this process. Again, there's nothing wrong with seeking help. Number 2, reflect on the benefits of forgiveness versus the cost of holding grudges. Pay attention to how grudges have poisoned your life and caused you harm. Your resentments will lessen when you see how they're harming you and resolve to forgive for your own sake. I've noticed that there's certain people that they're stuck with certain things that were done in the past for many years because unfortunately they have never got to that point when they're able to move forward and just to forgive themselves and forgive those who hurt others. Now, the next step is honor your emotions. Ignoring your pain will prevent true forgiveness. Remember that there is no forgiveness of others without anger, sadness, and hurt. If you hurt others, there's no self-forgiveness without first passing through the throes of remorse. So this is very important because at times there have been situations where we had hurt others, and we must acknowledge that in order to receive, in order to move on, in order to receive emotional freedom, in order to move forward. Okay. Oh yes, that's right. You did say that you're going to Georgia. I hope you have a good time. May the good Lord try and grant you traveling mercies, that you get to your destination safe and sound. Right now, I'm in Albany for a couple of days. I'll be returning to New York tomorrow. Now, the next thing is stop blaming. Don't make anyone responsible for your feelings, actions, well-being, or life. If you do this, you remain a victim the rest of your life. Take complete and total responsibility of your life, your joy and attitude, and your actions. Also take responsibility how you respond to whatever happens in your life. Practice kind and firm assertiveness, avoiding the extremes of aggressiveness and passivity. Your goal is to protect yourself from further harm. Okay. Now, again, we are accountable for our actions. We are accountable how we're going to respond to those who cause us pain, who cause us hurt. Okay? We can blame others, but that's not going to bring a resolution to what we are experiencing. The next thing, seek to understand what drove you and others to neglect or harm someone. See that we all struggle with selfishness, self-clinging, and self-preoccupation and aggression. We hurt each other out of pain or ignorance, and we all have deficiencies in our capacity to love. Okay, now this is an important point because as human beings, we are flawed, and some of our flaws are more obvious than others. Which brings up the next important point, which is practice humility. Let go of the need to be perfect for life and always go your way. Remind yourself that life is about all life, not just about you. Okay? Now, when you practice humility, you recognize what are your limitations, what you can do, what you can't do, and the fact is there are other people who are just as important. Which brings up the next thing that we need to consider. Let go of unrealistic expectations. We feel resentful when we expect reality, people, places, and things, situations to be other than what simply is. Instead, expect things to be exactly as they are. At times, we can have unrealistic expectations for multiple reasons. The last thing is just to acknowledge that my reality is not your reality. My situation is not your situation. Okay? And that everyone's path of life is different. And which brings me to the next important thing to consider. Remember the sacredness of all things. All people are sacred and deserving of your utmost respect and reverence due to the mere fact of their existence. Your unconditional reverence even extends to those who have harmed you and extends to you. Okay. See judgment for what it is, a fiction we apply to the reality that determines its supposed goodness or badness. Release yourself and others from judgment and recognize that it's simply not your place to judge yourself or anyone else. This will enable you to accept and love yourself and others who are both you and they are perfectly imperfect and human. Yeah. Yes, right. Safe travels to you, Kesha. Okay. Now, this is a very important point. Is to acknowledge that everyone is unique, everyone is special, everyone has value. Okay. Which brings up the next point, which can be difficult, but it's necessary. Wish your offenders well. It's hard to have resentment against people when you're wishing them well. Over time, the benefit of this practice will bring you greater peace inside of you. Okay. Now, one thing that the Bible talks about is unforgiveness. In fact, in the Lord's Prayer, talks about forgive our trespasses if we forgive those trespass against us. In other words, if we're not able to forgive others, we cannot seek forgiveness from God because we all have fallen short. We all have done things that were not pleasing, not only in His sight, but in the sight of others. And this is something that we need to do, which brings up another important point. Forgive yourself. Just as you cultivate forgiveness in others, cultivate self-forgiveness by applying all these same practices to yourself. Remind yourself of your common humanity with others and have compassion for yourself. You are no different, no less deserving of forgiveness than anyone else. Okay. This is something that people, I think all of us struggle with. We have done things to hurt others. We have taken accountability for our actions. We confess what we did was wrong. We acknowledge that we seek forgiveness from the person. We even receive forgiveness, and then we take resolutions and steps not to repeat the harm that we did. However, there are those of us that struggle with the ability to forgive yourself. If you want to move forward past your hurt, you have to be able to forgive yourself, which is basically loving yourself in the sense that you acknowledge, okay, you're not perfect, okay, but you're human. Which leads to the next point. Move on. There's little merit in obsessing on how we victimize others or we victimize ourselves. Ultimately, excuse me, immersing yourself in your painful past becomes a way of avoiding moving forward in life. You have a choice. You can be a victim, hate those who harm you, and ruminate on why did this happen to me, or you can ask what do I do now? Release yourself from victimhood by no longer making anyone responsible for your well-being. Learn from the past and let go. It doesn't exist any longer. It is only the present moment. Okay? That is why the past is the past. Okay. In other words, you're not living in the past, you're living in the present. Okay. You learn from the past so you don't repeat it. Okay. And one thing, I have watched Misunderstood's programming. Okay. And one thing I do admire her is that her ability to focus on her life journey to remain sober because she was she had addictions to foreign substances, and she was able to get to the point when she sought help, she got help, and she loved herself enough to forgive herself. If people don't want to forgive her, I mean, that's their issue. It's not hers. So that's which brings up to this point: finding peace by letting go. If you're trying to improve your mental health and overcome addiction, anxiety, depression, or forgiveness is essential. The decision to forgive often involves letting go of deep rage and resentment towards another person or group of people, or even or events or circumstances such as an illness that devastated your life or that someone you love. Forgiveness excuse me, almost always starts with releasing any anger, guilt, or shame that you feel about yourself. Everyone is driven by self concern. As you become more aware and more awakened, you will be able to experience self concern and concern for others as the same thing. When you see s- things, okay, when you see things from a unicentric concern with everyone point of view, rather than egocentric only concern only with yourself view, your judgments will recede and you'll be able to cultivate forgiveness. You'll be able to forgive those who do not see this yet. We want to acknowledge our wounds and process the pain so we can heal. Changing our relationship to what happened can help us to tolerate the pain without becoming overwhelmed, depressed, or enslaved to it or to any resulting addiction. If you see if you have significant trauma in your life in your past, a good trauma therapist can help you with this work. The ability to forgive is a personal strength that promotes both physical and psychological healing. Scientific studies have found that self forgiveness and forgiveness of others result in happiness, a peaceful mental state, and a much needed sense of satisfaction and relief. Okay, so first of all, let's just go to take a moment to get something to drink because I've been talking for 15 minutes. Just bear with me. Now, what is my take? My take on it is the following. Um, Forgiveness is a key element in order to move forward. When you're not able to forgive, you become a slave to the hurt that you're experiencing. When you're able to forgive, you're acknowledging what happened, and you're not a slave for it. Okay, and I've seen this again. I've seen people that harbor grudges for years, and I mean years. So what I'm going to do is, all right, I'm going to share one more source, and then after that, if no one else joins the panel, I'm going to call it a night. Okay. And again, the topic for tonight is moving forward. So the last source I'm going to share is from Psych Central, which call How to Let Go of Past Hurts. 8 ways to move on. Okay. And again, the topic is moving forward. I understand that this may not be a huge topic that everyone's thinking about, but it's something that needed to be discussed. Letting go of the past, including people who hurt you, may involve accepting what you cannot control, taking accountability and focusing on the lesson. Seeking help is also important. Most people have at some point wonder how to let go of a hurtful past. It's natural to feel that your current emotional pain is forever linked to what you experienced before. But even if the past caused it, letting go of the pain starts with focusing on today. Okay. And I see here, let's make sure. I see here we have a guest. So before I let my guest in, let me just state for the record that the views of those who appear on the panel are not necessarily those of the host of the panel. Any attempt to copy the material without the consent of the host of the channel is prohibited. By appearing on the call, you waive your right to see your image. Some of the views that people at home may be considered offensive to some viewers. If you do not like the content, you can block the channel. And now we're going to bring in. Good evening, Don Armando.
Good evening. How you doing?
Okay, so hi. So what you thought about the topic tonight, moving forward?
Yeah, I think this is a good topic because I'm not going to front. I'm going to be honest. I do have a problem with forgiveness because, in my past, a lot of the stuff that you said is true. It actually resonates with me that you actually be a slave to your past or whatever.
Mhm.
But when you move on to, I guess, better things or whatever, I mean, I guess I'm still praying to be a forgiving person. So, it's a process for me.
Yeah. But you know something, the key is to acknowledge it, that you have a problem, that you're having difficulty to getting past the hurt. That's the important key. There are people that have been going on with this situation 10, 20, 30, 40 years and never gotten to that point.
Got you. I mean, it was funny because there was a point of time in my life that I didn't really care to forgive. I'll be honest. I
Mhm.
I didn't care about I didn't care if I were to live, die, or go to jail. That
Okay.
was the type of time I was on.
Mhm.
But now, certain stuff that has happened, I've gotten married and everything like that. So and everything like that. So I'm trying to actually look through life in a different lens. So and since I'm a Christian, God, Jesus Christ went up and forgave others.
Mhm.
I guess I should learn how to forgive also.
Yeah. One thing I noticed also being in in ministry myself, um, one of the biggest issues that people don't get victory over is the inability to forgive themselves, forgive others, or even forgive God. Because sometimes they blame God for their dilemma. They blame God for the things that happen in their lives. Okay. Which is why it's very important. The key of accountability and the ability to forgive.
Yep.
Because it's like a cancer. It's like a cancer on your soul and your emotions. As long as you're not able to forgive yourself or forgive others, you're not going to be get free. And people need to understand forgiveness does not mean totally forgetting what happened. What it means is that you remember it, but it doesn't cause you the same amount of pain as it did before.
Gotcha.
And believe me, Don Armando, we all struggle with that. I mean, and we will continue to struggle with it as long as we are led by our emotions.
Right.
Hmm.
And it's funny because I could actually say that when I was coming up, emotional intelligence I actually lacked. Now
Hmm.
I'm actually now I'm actually trying to understand it because a lot of people, I mean, in this day and age, you could actually see it in media. You could actually see it in all other forms of media and personal lives. You actually see people who are actually in charge that actually lack emotional intelligence,
Hmm.
and it's funny because it's funny on how most of the people, right, that accused me of being a fake Latino or whatever the case may be. Most of these people don't really have solid evidence, and um most of these people they do not think they're not thinking. They're just going off by emotions, and it's showing me more and more that most of these people are not really emotionally intelligent. So, with that said, I don't see why I don't see why you have to go around and prove to a lot of people of what are you are or whatsoever the case may be. I'm just saying this for everybody. I don't see what's the point of arguing with people who are not emotionally intelligent. Because at the end of the day, they're gonna do what they're gonna do. They're gonna do the doxing, they're gonna do the name calling or whatsoever. So why argue with them when they're not actually emotionally intelligent? And it will show by time that these people are not emotionally intelligent and also they have mental problems or mental issues.
Hmm. Well, remember what Denise Gonzalez have said on many of her streams.
Mhm.
Hurt people. Okay. When you have people
I
that are
mean,
hurt,
that is true. That is true.
yeah.
But then if you really look at it, right, you have certain people who actually thrive on hurting people, but they're not hurt themselves. So therefore, one of these content creators, which I'm not going to name, I'm just going to mention the negative attributes of this content creator. This person always wants to say that they do not like bums or whatsoever, but yet they want to try to make certain people that they disagree with over a topic or whatsoever. They want to make sure that that person becomes a bum, and knowing that other people are being have mental issues and stuff. They was like, I want that person. I want to try to do this so this person could delete themselves or whatsoever. So
Hmm.
my thing is just that certain people they want to try to buy into these new age philosophies, I could say, on how to
Hmm.
manipulate people whatsoever, to the point that if they were to call with their actions, if they were to cause a person to go and self delete themselves in their warped view, they'll actually think that they won.
Hmm. Well, unfortunately, like I said before, we have individuals out there in these, not just in these YouTube streets, not just in social media, but in our own lives, where unfortunately they can only feel good by tearing others down. And the fact of the matter is, part of moving forward is not to let what what the disappointment or the hurts or what others did continue to dominate our lives, because here you are, you're nursing a grudge that's been like 20 or 30 years, 30, 40 years old. And that person that actually did the deed no longer remembers it. Okay. I mean, it's happened before. It's just that unfortunately, the people are not able to get past the hurt that they experience.
Yeah, it'll
I
be
mean,
like that sometimes.
yeah, and I see it almost weekly when I see people who are very bitter. It's either because they've been hurt or they hurt others. Okay, again, because
Or,
they've
or,
been.
or,
Yeah, go ahead.
or there's a third part that you're mistaken, meaning that the people that, let's say, the people that have done the hurting towards others, right?
Yes.
And then the people that have risen above that hurt, then most of the time, certain people, when they feel that they lost control, that's when they become bitter.
Hmm. Yeah.
I'll give myself for example. When, after my mother passed away, right, I was in a relationship with a young woman.
Hmm.
3 months after my mother passed, this young woman went up and played me with another man.
Hmm.
So I didn't. I was not mentally back, and there are certain stuff that transpired, which I'm not going to say
Hmm.
because this happened 10 years ago.
Hmm.
So after a while, after certain things transpired, all the hurt and everything like that, even though I was starting a new relationship, there were still points in time that I've actually thought, and I've actually explained this with my wife, that there was times that I used to get angry, and my thing was, well, I'm gonna go hurt an innocent person when I could actually go and hurt the person that made me feel this way.
Hmm.
So like around maybe mid 2013, like at the ending of 2013 towards 2014, me and certain people who have hurt and slandered me, we actually got into a big, what I guess you would call doxing or internet war, whatsoever the case may be.
Hmm.
So we was actually going to it. We're actually insulting each other, dissing each other's family members, etc., etc. And it almost, and let's just say that it almost got into to a point that certain people were actually going to delete themselves, going to get into a war, and somebody was going to get deleted right away. It almost got to that point.
Hmm.
So after a while, I was still feeling like that, but then, and then, it was a year because I seen my friend, I guess, was defending me, and then certain people were trying to get her, get her harmed as well. So I went up and I actually went after my former employees by insulting them also. And after a while, after the former employees were saying that they were going to come to my apartment at the time and they were gonna do this and do that, I told them, come right ahead. I'm ready to go to jail, so let's do this.
Hmm.
And after a while, you have certain people, I guess, from that day that they still do not like me because I guess I stood up for myself or whatever the case may be, and I stood up
Hmm.
for a friend.
Hmm.
Now, now, what the sad story is that this friend is no longer here on this earth. May she rest in peace.
Hmm.
And to make this long story short, the last time I went up and I did anything of matter was like around 2018. But then
Hmm.
again, I just went up and I said, like, What's the point? I got a new lady. This person is old. It's old news.
Hmm.
And they could go and try to spin the story out many times it is. It's never ending. So you know what? It's just worthless just continuing this.
Hmm.
So after a while, 2018 was the last time I actually had a actually insulted anybody that actually hurt me in 2013.
Hmm.
So before the passing after the passing of my friend, and I just went up and I don't know how it was, right?
Hmm.
I went up and I posted a picture of my late friend on her on her Facebook. So lo and behold, the ex that went up and caused me emotional damage on in 2013 was saying, "Oh, I miss you, whatever." I didn't really say nothing. I just posted a picture of me, my late friend, like during the party that we've actually attended before her passing. And lo and behold, whoop de doo. I guess that person blocked me. So my thing is that people that hurt you, they want to see you hurt for a long time. But then
Hmm.
when you actually rise above it, and you're showing how life is without them, 9 times out of 10, will try to get at you or try to just block you or anything like that because of the control that they lost and everything. So at the end of the day, you got to forgive them because to go and harbor hatred and everything like that only begets more hatred. I mean, I hate to say, it, but out here in Philadelphia, you have certain people who actually hate each other, who have like generations of hatred. That's why to the point that certain people are getting deleted out here in other cities because of old bitter hatred or hatred because of material things, or they just want to they just want to have a sense of control of their block or try to make more money. So
Hmm.
when you actually put hatred and vengeance and everything like that, I'm saying in my aspect, you could go do it, but then when you see certain things that happen, there and I could say in my life, God could do vengeance way better than a human being. A human being say, "Yeah, I got to do this, do that," right? But then they don't see the after part, the after effects. But when vengeance is done by God, even I never used to really listen to my mom's, but now I actually remember her words. When vengeance is done by God, you may even feel sorry that thing transpired against that person who's transgressed against you. So
Yeah.
I'm actually learning that as I get older.
Well, you know what? That's the key. The key is to acknowledge the betrayer, the hurt, and try to move forward. But one thing that's very important is to forgive yourself.
Yep.
Hmm. So, and all you can do is for the people that have not got to that point when they can forgive yourself, is just to keep them in prayer, and that one day they'll be able to get to that point because the lack of forgiveness for and the lack of accountability, that's a cancer that will destroy you mentally and psychologically.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That is I could actually say that is the truth.
Yeah. So but let's us focus on something more positive. Okay. Um, are we still going to link up regarding the Dominican Day Parade? Because I believe it's on the 13th.
Yes.
Okay. And maybe we'll link up with Radical Latino.
I mean, it was funny because I tried to link up with them last year, but the thing
Okay.
is, though, you got two cell phone numbers, and I don't know which one of them work.
Okay. Did you try to
Yeah,
DM? Did you try to DM him?
yeah. I actually hit them up on
Okay. So what did he say?
say we went from Twitter to X.
Okay.
I'm like, yeah. So as soon as I look at my new app, and it was just, I guess you know, when you look at your app on your phone and it actually
Yeah.
updates
Yeah.
and stuff. The next thing you know, I see an X. I'm like, what is this? And then
That's
I keep
that,
reading
that's the
it.
that's
I
the,
kept,
that's the that's the new whatever for Twitter. I don't know why, because that's confusing as heck.
all right, well, I'll give you the synopsis of it. Elon Musk, he went up and changed the company from X because he
Hmm.
had a company, because he has multiple companies, right?
Yes.
So he has a so as far as Tesla, that's not a this is not related to X. So X, I guess, is a company that he actually created. So therefore, it was like, okay, so why are we gonna name this Twitter or anything like that? So, and since I already got my X company LLC or whatever the case may be, which does programming and such, so therefore he was like, all right. At first, it was going to be Twitter X, but now it's just X because of of a side company that he makes, that he has ownership of.
Hmm.
So when I was actually reading why it was changed, I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess it makes sense for him.
Hmm.
And also, I'm just trying to see how I could hack Rumble because I'm seeing that there's a lot of YouTube creators who love to say shocking stuff. Some of them are just fed up with the YouTube rules, so some of them are just shutting down their accounts and they want to go on Rumble, so therefore they can say all the mean and nasty stuff that they say always.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, actually, there's a possibility that might, link up with some of the YouTube creators this Saturday. In fact, Christina DM'd me, um, talking about coming up to Parkchester, um, with your teacher and someone that you have had some issues with, called Blood Moon.
I mean, me personally is this. Oh yeah, the Washington Heights Chia Pet. Anyway, it's funny, right? I have an inkling on who it is, but I would have loved to come up around this way on Saturday, but I'm not sure because my wife works.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I
I'm
don't
just gonna
blame
be
you.
in.
I don't blame you. And the way that you two go at each other, I mean, it would have been no, no, no. That would have been an awkward situation.
Man, please. She would have felt more awkward on me when I actually brought the facts. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
All
you
right.
know,
Yeah.
yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So it's like me personally. I showed that I'm not afraid of them. I've been in a lot of I've been in Dominican parades that they say that they're gonna show and tell me that I'm not this or anything like that. And they haven't showed. They haven't showed any receipts to make me convinced that, oh, we're gonna expose you. All they have on their arsenal is lies. So therefore, if Blood Moon really wants to meet me, I mean, you could go through Fighter. And one day, and what a lot of people don't know, and I'm just putting it out there, when me and Fighters first linked up, I was supposed to meet Blood Moon. I was like, no, I have to go meet my friends because why the heck I'm going to go to Washington Heights when then that day I had friends in Queens that I had to meet. I'm talking about my old high school friends.
Hmm.
So we went up and we met that day, and we had like a good little dinner. One of my own friends, she was pregnant at the time. She since then she gave birth to I don't know if it was a girl or a boy, but I know there's a healthy baby, and she became a mother. And I actually talked to her husband as well. He's on my Instagram, by the way.
Hmm.
So with that said, it's just that I was supposed to actually meet that mysterious person. But me personally, the way that we go at it and everything like that, and all this stuff, it just shows that some of these individuals are not really emotionally well are not really emotionally intelligent. Because if you're emotional intelligent, right, and rumor has it that this person is a school teacher, right?
Yes.
So so I've been around teachers. My late aunt was a teacher. I have
Hmm.
a cousin who's a teacher and everything like that. All
Okay.
rational people, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So you know, so the amount of rationality that I've had and everything like that towards that individual, the Washington Heights Yeti, it's to the point that if she's supposed to be a teacher, why don't you go and do the due diligence of researching if you're really a teacher? But no, my thing is that she is really a teacher. She's like, I'm a middle school teacher and all this stuff. But yet you come in here, you say ratchet stuff. Even to the point when it was to the Dominican to see if I was really Dominican or not. She was saying a whole bunch of stuff like, oh, like he was wearing a wig and all this other crap. But yet, out of anything and everything, she, Danny, whatever number, whatever, um, Daniel Rodriguez, and what- one of my other haters, Fat J or whatever the heck it may be. All
Hmm.
these people have not really showed me any concrete evidence on proving if I'm right or wrong. So, and then on top of it, she made another allegation which was stupid, which is that my wife is Arab. Okay, so where's your evidence? I'm a fake Dominican. She says that I'm Creole. Ooh, she's like, oh, you must be husbands because your wife is Egyptian. All these accusations for years since I've been in the YouTube streets, but zero facts, zero archives, zero accountability. So therefore, my thing is this: she's not taking accountability, and then on top of it, she's not showing her face, right? So if she's not showing her face and all this stuff, 9 times out of 10, she's afraid that she might even lose her position by the crap that she's saying. Whereas for me, I don't care. I put it out there.
Okay.
It's just that you ain't gonna know where I work. I'm doing this and that, and then every time I do a stream, I know that certain people it's been beknownst to me that certain people, certain content creators that do not like me, they have a group that talks about me and Zacharias all day and every day. So my thing is that if y'all so obsessed about me and Zacharias, right? And but yet y'all mostly obsessed about me because I don't fit into your racial mode, or I'm not racist like they are. That just
Mhm.
shows me that these guys are immature, and I'm just going the way that radical is going at it. They're just jokes.
Mhm. Well,
So
I mean, look, there are multiple reasons why people they don't show their face uh, or come up or whatever. That's not my place to ask the why. Okay. In the beginning, I came up all the time. It does that at this stage, I decided, you know what? You have my avatar, which is a picture of myself. So it's basically the same thing. So why do I need to come up? The only time that I actually came up was when I did a stream regarding the topic. I'm not a ghost. I'm alive because someone hacked into my Facebook account telling people that I have died.
oh yeah, oh yeah, me and other people, we actually know who might have done that. Don Jose.
Okay.
Which I'm not going to say. I'm going to text you. I'm going to text you by the phone.
Okay, no problem.
So yeah. So
You know, that was the last time that I came up. And the reason why I did, so people could understand that I'm not dead, I'm alive. And in fact, Keisha called me to ask me if I was okay. But the reality is that we're living in an age where people they do insane stuff.
the
They,
way I see it,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, right now as we speak, I'm in Albany. I'll be back in New York tomorrow. It's just that I'm on vacation this week, so I decided to get out of the city and just chill.
I
Um,
mean, yeah, because I might be like maybe around September stuff. I might just go to a wedding on in upstate New York as well
okay.
because me personally, I could say that there's certain stuff that within my professional life that I'm not really feeling. So there's like a situation that I just duck my head and I just do my work and I just go home
Hmm.
because you have certain people who make it explicitly their goal. Just hearing that I'm in a happy space in my life as far as my relationship, they want to go and and they want to go and try to make they want to try to extort me or try to blackmail me or whatever the case may be.
Hmm.
But I'm not falling for it because I don't talk to certain people in my job because a person went up and forewarned me about this person coming back. So when that person came back, the first thing they went up and they asked me was, "Oh, how come I don't do certain stuff because whatever?" I said it's company rules why I don't wear certain stuff, certain articles of jewelry.
Hmm.
Second, the person who you could tell has like a stereotypical view about certain people, my color and everything like that. She went up and tried to allude, "Oh, you talk to yourself, whatever. You must be into Santeria." I'm like,
What?
no, exactly. Just because of my skin color. I was like, no, I'm a Christian. Third and foremost was the most disrespectful question. I'm just praising it because there was a lot of cursing, Dominican slang and everything like that. The third question was alluding was that this female wanted to know about how me and my wife get it on, or our personal matters in the bedroom. I
What?
told her, I told her, hey, that's not your business. That's between me and my wife. The second thing, this woman wanted to try to insist, and I had to tell her again, what goes on in the bedroom is between me and my wife. You're not gonna go around and know anything about it. And I just went up and I left her. So since I don't talk to this female no more, and I always avoid this woman, all this woman does is actually look at me, try to smile, or do whatever, but I just ignore her and I just walk past because certain people just don't know on the levels of disrespect what people will do. And ever since I've met this disaster of a lady, there's only two things that she talks about: sex, money, and how she's gonna find her next victim on how to make money.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, if you putting it out there, what makes you think, as a man, married man, or anything like that, even if I was single, I would not go and date this person because I'll give you a backstory. When I first started my job, right, and it
Yes.
was before payday, this woman had a friend who was equally greedy. So I went there and I deposited a check because I had to help that I got because of whatsoever, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I deposited the check, and remind you, this was the day before payday, the person saw me deposit the check and then went up and tried to ask me, "Oh, why the heck you gonna go help your people in the Dominican Republic when you can help me?" First of all, don't you have a husband? And second of all, my people in Dominican Republic need it more than you do. You're the one that works, right? Your husband's the ones that work. So why are you gonna beg me for money? From that day, me and that woman, our relationship or friendship soured from that point.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that woman, where our friendship soured from, her friend was equally stupid. So, in the first, we're not right. This person was like, "Oh, you look nice and everything like that." I just shrugged it off because you're not good. I know what you're about. All you talk about is sex and money. So after 2021, that person left the job. So it's this year that this person went and got reinstated into the job. And most of the stuff she does, which are just prejudicial or how should I say, which are just basically dumb, is she thinks that this job is a big joke. She don't take anything serious, and then in the job, she has a reputation of sleeping with supervisors or fellow colleagues in my job, and and they all comes out from the same result. They either crying because they can't pay their bills because she extorted them that bad, or it's to the point that she messed up their finances to the point that they don't even want to be with this person. This is the bad reputation that she has gotten. So what would I be a fool to even be around that person?
Mm-hmm.
So that person from the time I met her, she always had a thing in her mind that I always have secret money. If I do, if I don't, it's not for you. Let a man be in peace with his woman. Let a man be in peace with who he is. Stop trying to go after a person that don't want you because that person knows what you're about. But yet that person will try to have their little schemes or whatever. It's like, oh, we're gonna get hit because I need money. Okay, so there's certain things that I want to try to address. This person has three kids, right? How your three kids are gonna look at you when you doing all this? First of all, right?
Hmm.
Second of all, why the heck, if you're a woman or independent woman, whatever, you're always using a man for a meal ticket if you can't make it your own? Number two. And
Hmm.
number three, you can be doing whatever. But as a woman, doesn't it as women, doesn't it get tired when you get disrespected over and over again? And then on top of it, you're still looking for the same punishment? I mean, at the end of the day, that's a bad life to live. I mean, how how low can you get to a point that a person says that they don't want you, but yet you have like this mind that, oh, this person is going to be my meal ticket to a happy life. So let me go and try to destroy that person's life. So therefore, they could give me some money. And
Hmm.
how low could you get?
Yeah.
So that's one aspect. Another aspect is that I have another person, an HR director, who always trying to give me the nice side eye, but I don't pay attention to that person. And nine times out of ten, I was asking a person that been around her type, and he actually put me onto game, meaning that that person is a known, is not a trustworthy person, and her whole reason for just looking at people my complexion, remind you, she's an African American,
Hmm.
and in reality, she likes a person of a she likes a white man, and her thing is to try to set up a black man, get him fired over a sexual harassment claim, and then she be around her business. So therefore, she's actually targeting her own men of color for just to take a fall. So therefore, she could actually rise up in power or whatsoever the case may be.
I see. Well, when everything is said and done, certain people you just have to block. I mean, I never thought that Blazing King would remove me from his Discord.
I mean, but then again, I'm not gonna. I've heard, I've heard stuff from one person about Blazing King because
Hmm.
let's be honest, there's certain people that that this one person has told me that a lot of this stuff that you seeing is actually playing out.
Hmm.
For example, when Magic Mulata be on my screen or whatever, right? And this person was like, oh, whatsoever, right? The next thing you know, you and her don't get along, right?
Hmm.
Then Anthony Ali, and then I guess now Blaze.
Yeah.
So my thing is that I'm just maybe in your case or whatever. Maybe this person might be spot on about certain people,
Yeah.
and he is not. So that's what I have to say.
Well, I
Well,
have. Well, I have
mm,
no patience for people that have beats with others and then they get butthurt because I'm cool with those people. Okay? I have little patience when it comes to certain biracial and multiracial people who get upset because I'm cool with certain individuals. This is the same. I'm fed up with certain people that get upset because I'm cool with certain creators on our side of the fence. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you have beef with those people, that's fine. Don't drag me into your stupidity.
Exactly.
Okay? So is there anything else that you want to mention regarding the topic before I start to wrap this up?
Well, I'm about to go. I'm about to say just move. So
Okay.
I will be seeing you later, Don Jose.
Well, okay. Well, in any case, thank you very much for stopping by.
All right.
So have a good night.
You too.
So I'm going to give you my final words. When it comes to moving forward, you have to be able to let go of those emotions that are robbing your peace. If you're not able to do that, you're never going to heal emotionally or psychologically. So I just want to give a huge shout out to everyone in the chat, and shout out to Don Armando for appearing on the panel. I'm going to be doing a stream Saturday. I think it's going to be 11 o'clock. It's going to be another episode of Open Discussion. So when I do an open discussion, I talk about many things, and also if the audience have anything they want me to discuss, I'll bring it up as well. So, of course, anyone and everyone is welcome to enter their comments after the stream is over. Just keep it respectable. So the key, again, is to just be able to let go of those things that rob you of your peace and move forward. So that being said, I'm going to wish all of you a good night. And of course, I'm going to end up by saying the following. We must do everything we can to limit our exposure to mentally and intellectually challenged, because if we fail to do so, we'll be infected by the stupidity and massive insanity. This has been another episode of Uncommon Sense with Jose Negron, wishing all of you a good night, take care, and peace.
Be strong.